Let's talk about rest. Not the kind you plan for once your to-do list is done, but the kind your body is begging for right now. For years, I would be the person that wouldn't walk or go for a run without my Apple Watch. And if I didn't close my rings at the end of the day, it just simply didn't count. And I was chasing exhaustion because really it was the only way I ever felt like I did enough. But I never got the feeling that I was after. It was the feeling of being complete, having something done. And today I want to speak to the part of you that still feels like rest has to be earned, that fears of slowing down, and that believes momentum only comes through doing. Because what if rest was actually the thing you're missing? All right, my friends, today we're going to talk all about rest. And this conversation has been coming up in my group coaching calls as well. So I thought, hey, we're already talking about it. Let's bring it over to the podcast and let's bring it to the public because this is something that I know all of you are struggling with. And the reason why I know you're struggling with it is because this is the core reason why we end up with gut issues and hormone issues, or we simply get into a spot in our body where it doesn't feel like ours and it feels very confusing and it doesn't feel like comfort. It doesn't feel like ease. And all of this is from overworking your body, working against your body. And what comes with that? It's a lack of rest. It's a lack of productive rest or quality rest. And when I talk about rest today, I'm not talking about sleeping. Sleeping is different than rest. Rest can be purposeful and it can be it can be like completion, and it's a way to build trust with your body. So I know what this is like. I still struggle with it because we just live in a world where we are valued by our productivity. We're valued by how much we can get done. We're valued by what other people can see. And oftentimes what other people can see is us doing things and being helpful or productive or insert whatever the word is. And so I myself have struggled with this. And I am also somebody who looks, even though I wear an Apple Watch now, I really don't even, I just use it to monitor my steps because I work at a desk and I will inevitably kind of work through the day without paying attention to how much I've actually moved my body. And so this is just a way for me to have like a set point to reflect on, am I getting up to move throughout the day is the major reason why I use it. But in the past, I would use my Apple Watch to make me feel accomplished. I would want my rings to be closed. I would want that move ring to always be complete. And also, I would keep moving the move ring goal up and up and up. And I would make it a challenge to see how many calories can I burn in a day. And so I totally resonate with that. The other thing too is like even like aura rings are wonderful for data and information and helping you read parts of your body that we can't really go intuitively and look at, like our heart rate variability, for example. But also, do I look at my aura ring sometimes and I, maybe look at certain markers to make myself feel like I'm doing the right things? Or I look at my aura ring data and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Why is this happening? And then all of a sudden I feel bad about myself simply for data. Data is there to help us make informed decisions. It's there as one piece of information. What I want you to take from this episode is how to build trust in understanding your body's language and also understanding the language of needing rest. It's very normal to walk around in our day and only feel like worthy or like we've done enough when we're at the point of exhaustion. When we get to the end of the day and we're like, oh, I just can't do anymore. We often feel like we've done something right when we get to that point of exhaustion. And this is from external validation of being the hardest worker in the room, doing things perfectly, doing them right, and completely, and like having no energy left at the end of the day to give anymore. And that just, I want you to think about having nothing left to give also means you have nothing left for yourself. You've left your cup completely dry, and even like less than dry, right? So it's like negative amount of dryness in there, because there's just nothing left for you. And what you're doing is you're sending your body the message that there's not enough energy here. There's not enough energy for you. There's not enough energy to create hormones. There's not enough energy to get quality sleep. Your environment isn't safe because there's not enough energy. Your metabolism, your body, always measuring what's coming in and what's going out as a way to find certainty and safety in your body and in your environment. And so if the message is like there's so much energy going out and you're completely exhausted, your body does not feel safe. And when your body doesn't feel safe, it simply is not going to do the things that you would like it to do, which would be to have enough energy to get through your day and actually feel really good, to just feel at home in your skin, to have a hormonal balance, to have digestion that works really well. Many times we'll skip rest until our list is done. So many of you, and also I have a history of this, is that you'll just write down your list for the day. And also our lists are way too long for what any one person should be getting done in one day. But your list is like, okay, I've got these 10 things that I need to do. They'll probably take me more than 12 hours, but it is what it is. And then once I get to this, then I'll feel like I can rest. But the truth is that even if you did get through that list of to-dos and you got them all complete and you got to the end, you still don't let yourself rest. Right? You still don't allow yourself to truly sit down and to do any sort of resting activity. So when I talk about like resting activity, what does this actually mean? Many times and there's no right or wrong answer as to how you rest. The right answer on how you rest is one that allows you to feel restored afterwards. So sometimes this does look like sitting down on the couch and watching a TV show. Sometimes this does look like you sitting down and reading a book. Maybe it's like going for a nice restorative walk. Maybe it's going for like restorative yoga or to a breathwork class or something like that, right? It's whatever you leave that activity from and you feel restored. That is how we know that that rest was actually productive. But you get to the end of your list and you actually complete all the things, and then you still don't allow yourself to actually rest, to find some restoration, right? Because what ends up happening is that if you actually complete things and you get to the end, you're all of a sudden like, well, certainly I missed something because I shouldn't have free time. I shouldn't have like open space. And when you feel like you have open space and that feels really deeply uncomfortable to have open space, your nervous system is very dysregulated. Your nervous system is stuck in that fight or flight, in that constant moving, and it cannot sit still because it feels very unsafe without that stimulation going all of the time, right? Because it's very unfamiliar to have open space, to have space to think, to have space to feel the feelings in your body, to feel what your body is telling you, and only push up against it. Right? That can feel very unnerving when you're learning how to basically go into your body and learn how to understand its language and what it's telling you. So you never actually allow yourself to have that open space to get in a restorative state of your body and also your mind. So notice that you like kind of hold yourself prisoner to the things that you think need to be done and that they need to be done in order for you to go and find time and space to rest. Many times we think of rest as like indulgent. Who am I to rest? That's a luxury. However, rest is essential. Rest is necessary for our body to rebuild. If we never actually go and have productive rest, our body just continues to break down, especially for women in midlife. Our bodies are not as resilient as they were 10, 15 years ago. And so our bodies need that rest. They need that restoration so that they have the time, energy, capacity to be able to rebuild. And if we never allow for that time, what we end up doing is we just keep breaking down. And in that breakdown is where we start to feel very miserable and confused in our body. Rest is not a waste of time. Rest is not an excuse. Rest is not lazy. Rest is an actual part of your health. And if you feel like you're struggling, and if you feel like you don't know what to do, or you feel like your body just is confusing and everything just doesn't feel right for you, I would question, do you have any rest built into your day, built into your week, even your month? Do you ever allow yourself to simply be without the productivity, without checking things off the list, without finding other things to micromanage in your life? And rest can feel very uncomfortable. If this episode is hitting all the notes for you and you're like, yes, 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 rest is going to feel uncomfortable for you. That is normal. You've been taught to work. You've been taught to be the hardest worker in the room. You've been taught to do more. More is better. Go on and on and on of all the stuff that we've been taught. And that is working against your body instead of with your body. And so when you go in to actually have some rest or some restoration, it can feel uncomfortable. Your mind will tell you that this is a waste of time. Your mind will tell you that there's lots of other things to do. Your mind will tell you that there's something on your to-do list that should be done before you sit down and take time for yourself. And just remember, all of that is normal, and also none of that is true. You're building new beliefs, you're building new thoughts that rest is healthy and rest is necessary. And when you build new thoughts and new beliefs, it's going to take you feeling uncomfortable with it at first because it's foreign, and practicing it and continuing to do it. And I know, because I did the same thing. I never wanted to rest. I always wanted to overwork and do all of that stuff. And once I finally saw that my rest allowed for my body to feel so much better, I could see the correlation on why it was so important. And the working against my body and just doing all the things all the time and ignoring the need for rest continued to make my body feel worse. And when I really began to understand that it's good to feel good in your body, so many times we think we'll walk around and think, I feel bad in my body. And we never really remember or understand what it truly feels like to feel good in our body. And then when we do start to feel good in our body, all of a sudden we want to sabotage that feeling of good because we don't actually know how to tolerate feeling good in our body. Right? Because this is another discrepancy of a current thought or belief that you have, that maybe we don't deserve to feel good. We should always be struggling. And so then we'll kind of sabotage ourselves, and we go from feeling really good all the way back to feeling bad again. And actually that feeling of bad in our body is very familiar. And our mind and our body will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. That is just how the human condition is. It's how the brain is. And it's good to be aware of that so that you can then be like, oh, this is what's happening. I'm still going to make a new thought, make a new belief. I'm going to let it feel uncomfortable. I'm going to let my brain tell me that this is wrong. I'm just going to let it tell me that I'm lazy, or that I've lost my motivation, or I'm not a disciplined person. I'm going to let my brain tell me all that. I know that that's not true. I know that rest is an important part of my health and how I create the healthy body that I want to be in. You don't have to feel tired to be worthy, to feel loved, or to ever be enough. You're simply enough by just being you. You don't have to outwork yourself. You don't have to outwork your body, because our bodies need that rest. We want to outperform our mind. We want to outperform our body, but you can't. You can't do that for the human body. The human body will always look for homeostasis. It'll always look for regulation. So you can try to overwork it, but it's going to somehow find a way to make sure that your body catches up on that. And usually it doesn't look good. Usually what it looks like is that you get sick. Many times in midlife, what it'll look like is that women will end up with an autoimmune condition. And that's because your body begins to fight itself actually internally. Why? Because you've been ignoring it and it needs to find a way to find rest. And so now it's going to put you on your ass to make sure you do get the rest that you actually need. So you can stay ahead and you can rest productively and plan to rest, or you can wait for life to catch up to you at a certain point, and now you're put on your ass and you're forced to rest. Nobody loves forced rest, right? Because then at that point, then we feel very victimized. Then we feel like we're helpless. When you can plan for your rest ahead of time, when you can know that your body needs rest, you can let go of that guilt and you don't have to outwork yourself. You get to rest and on your terms instead of an illness's terms. Your body is truly built in rest and not the doing in your day-to-day, not the overworking. Because when you rest, you really allow yourself to start to hear your body. And that's one of the missing links that's happening, is that we're not listening to our body. We overwork, we override our body, we ignore signs, we ignore symptoms. We tell our body that it's wrong, but your body has so much wisdom. Your body wants to tell you how to take care of it, but you don't know how to listen to it. And the listening happens in the rest. The listening happens in the softness and the leaning into your body. And when you start to allow for that rest, you can start to actually go in and check in, what's actually going on with my body? What is my body feeling? What is my body telling me today that it actually needs? And when you get to do that, and when you develop that practice with yourself, a beautiful relationship emerges. You get to build trust with yourself and trust with your body, and everything starts to make sense later. And things just start to fall into place for you. You don't have to fight your body. You don't have to diet against your body. You don't have to find plans or programs to tell you exactly what to do. You develop that in of itself, and it makes sense for you. And you're not constantly fighting yourself. So let's talk about what are some signs and symptoms on your body craving rest or asking for rest. You maybe know these already. You maybe are like, I know I should rest. I just don't. Or I needed to hear this podcast today to feel like there's some permission here for you to rest. Just know you never need my permission to rest. You only need your own permission. And in fact, until you give yourself your own permission, you're just going to keep fighting yourself anyway. So let this be a beautiful reminder to plan for your rest and to follow through with your rest. Planning is one thing. Following through with your rest is a whole other thing. But fatigue, this feels very obvious, but it's very much so ignored. Why? Because we have just normalized fatigue. We think that it's normal to wake up tired. We think it's normal to have a 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. crash. We think it's normal to kind of drag through the last half of our day. However, it's not normal. If you are feeling tired, your body's asking for rest, and it's time that you listen. Aches, pains, feeling like your body just hurts. This is your body sending signals to you that there's pain here. This is uncomfortable here. Even if there's not like an injury there, even like nothing has happened to that part of the body, but it just feels very achy and it's kind of screaming at you and it's getting your attention. And this could also just be all over aches and kind of inflammation and just like not feeling fluid or movement or having that flexibility or that mobility in your body. This is your body trying to get you to rest, trying to get you to sit down, trying to get you to pay attention to what it's asking you. And it's very much so probably asking you to rest. Now, remember, rest doesn't have to be just sitting at your desk chair, because I'm sitting in my chair right now at my desk. This is not rest. This is working, right? My mouth is going, my mind is going. This is not restoration. I will not feel restored after this podcast episode. I will need to go outside. I'll need to get some fresh air and some sunshine. I'll need to take a couple of breaths. Some people feel energized by this type of work. I don't feel energized by any type of work. That's the type of person that I am. And guess what? That's so liberating that I know that about myself finally, and why I'm a tired person like a lot of the time. And that's because any sort of work makes me feel tired. And it's okay that I can validate that. And then that's how my body speaks to me. So anyway, aches, pains, right? Let that be your body sending a message saying, this hurts. Pay attention to this. What does this area of your body need? It might be to sit down. It might be to watch a TV show. It might be to sit down and binge Netflix, but it also might be to go for a walk that feels really restorative and good. And it might be to go sign up for that yoga class that you've been thinking about, but you just haven't made time for. Your mind spinning in circles. Like you just cannot get your mind to shut off, to shut down. It's spinning and spinning. And usually it's not about rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It's usually about the worst thing possible. It's about the to-do list. It's about stuff you don't want to do, XYZ, right? And you just can't get that mind to calm down. Your mind needs rest. And sometimes, resting the mind is one of the hardest things to do, right? Because we can't just like sit the mind down on the couch and be like, don't move. The mind just goes unless we go in and we actually take conscious power over our mind. I like to use nervous system tools for this to get that mind to slow down. So one, like meditation can be very helpful, but if you're somebody who has a mind that won't stop, meditation can actually be very hard. But here's one thing, practice meditation because that will make you getting your mind to calm down much easier. The other thing you can do is more like somatic movements and nervous system tools to basically get your brain to attach to something else and to concentrate on that regulation activity or to concentrate on moving that part of your body. So let's walk through this. I did this with my group this week and it was really helpful. That if you're driving, you won't necessarily be able to do this. You could do this with maybe your hand and your leg or something like that. But I want you just to rub your hands together. And I want you to think about your left hand touching your right hand. I want you to think about your left hand as you rub your hands together, your left hand receiving the impulses of the right hand touching it. So I feel the bumps and I feel the lines on my hand and I feel the calluses and I feel the shape of my hand. I feel the texture of my hand. I feel the coolness of my hands. I feel the warmth in some areas of my hand. And then I'm going to put my focus on the other hand, the right hand, and the right hand receiving the stimulation from the left hand. So the right hand is feeling the bumps on the calluses of the left hand, and it's feeling the lines and so on and so forth. So what I'm doing is I'm explaining to my brain exactly what's happening to this hand, how it's receiving the touch, the sense of the touch. And I'm going into detail about it. And I'm going overboard on the explanation, right? And what I'm doing is I'm using one of my 5 senses, the sense of touch, to calm my brain down. Your nervous system will be regulated or dysregulated by what is being perceived in your 5 senses. And so right now I'm just using the sense of touch and I'm just over explaining all of that to my brain so that my brain is actually perceiving the touch. It's perceiving those feelings. And I'm also occupying my brain by talking to it, by verbally explaining it inside of my own brain. So you can do this with your own voice. Also, FYI, your nervous system loves your own voice. It's the vibration inside your body. So you can actually calm your own body with your vibration of your voice. And your brain isn't good at multitasking. So if we're giving it the task of feeling and we're giving it the task of talking through it, it's not going to pick up another task and start ruminating on XYZ. And so now you are basically making space for your mind to find calm, to find rest, to find peace. And what you're also doing with this is that you're regulating your vagal nerve, your nervous system. It's perceiving all of these things that it's telling you. And this touch of my own hands is a very safe experience. And so it's bringing all of that in, and then it's going to also regulate your nervous system. So after that exercise, your body is actually going to feel more calm. In addition to, your mind will have more open space. It'll have more clarity. It'll feel more clear. And that right there was rest. That was purposeful rest, just that quick little exercise that we did, right? It doesn't have to be you sitting on the couch for 4 hours to say, okay, well, I rested, now what? That is not productive rest. That's not productive rest. Productive, what's the word I wanted to say there? Unproductive. There. That's unproductive rest. If you're going to sit on the couch and you're going to cause yourself more misery by sitting on the couch, that's unproductive. And you want to learn how to be productive in your rest, which means that you're actually regenerating your energy and you're restoring. That is the productivity. It's not the completion of tasks. It's not the multitasking in the rest. Productive rest is you actually restoring your body and getting that bang for your buck in your time while you find your rest and your restoration. And then lastly is a body that can't sit still, right? So you always have to be moving. That's one that is really anchored in that fight or flight. And so another nervous system activity would be great for you. But learning to, like, if you do decide that, yes, I want to rest my physical body because my physical body is exhausted, but I can't sit still, I can't not do something, then I would say sitting for you is a really good practice and activity, and let it feel uncomfortable and let your body be like, I want to go do something. Let the fear be there of I'm going backwards. Let the fear be there of I'm not burning calories. Let the fear be there that I'm going to lose progress, right? So that emotion is going to come up when you sit down, and notice those emotions and notice those thoughts. The fear that something is going to go backwards or that you're going to ruin progress, and then talk to yourself through that. Is that true? Is that true that if you rest, you'll gain weight, you'll lose progress, you're not a motivated person? Probably not. No, because you're not going to sit there for days and never move again. You're just sitting for the restoration of your body. And who told you these things? Right? You were likely taught during some sort of diet, or maybe another program you did, or a trainer, or maybe your mom, or an external source outside of you that told you once that the more you move your body, the better. The less you eat, the better. The bigger the calorie deficit, the more likely you are to reach your goals. And just remember that we're starting to learn something new. We're starting to find a different way to take care of our bodies. That maybe what we were told when we were younger or young girls, it wasn't the full truth. And that's not the fault of the person who told you these things. That person told you what they thought was best at the time, but we're finding a new way, and we're exploring a new way, and we're especially finding a new way for you. And then lastly, another sign that your body actually needs more rest is poor sleep. So a body that cannot stay asleep is often a body that needs more purposeful rest. And then a low appetite. So that again is a very classic sign of of a body that just desperately needs some energy, resources, and some restoration. So remember that as you practice rest, as you become uncomfortable with the comforts of rest, to remind yourself that your body isn't lazy. You are not lazy. You will not lose anything by resting. You actually gain so much more by resting. So one thing I want you to do from this episode is to actually plan some sort of rest for yourself this week. So I like to pick an evening where I like leave my house, because honestly, I'm in my house all the time. I work here. My kids are home from school, and I like to leave my house in the evenings right now. So I'll plan an evening where I go somewhere for breath work or some sort of meditation class or maybe a yoga class. So that way I am actually like purposefully putting myself, my body into a place where I'm going to be resting. I don't take my phone in at all, because I have learned that these children will just push through my do not disturb. So we don't even take our phones in. I leave them in my car and they will be fine. And I go in and I have like an hour and a half of just restoration. And it makes me feel so good and so well taken care of after these sessions that I go to, that it's worth the time away. It's worth whatever excess thing I have to do the next day. I end up sleeping better that night. I end up waking up with so much better energy, and my body just feels calm and it feels like so good. When rest feels so good, I want you to like take that in and let it like really soak through your entire body. Like go all the way to your fingertips and all the way to your toes. Like let it feel so good. Like you're marinating in just this luxurious experience that is everything that your body needs, right? And then on the weekends, I also make sure that I have time for rest as well. Now, this is always going to depend on what's going on the weekends with sports and bringing kids places and whatnot. But oftentimes, my Friday nights, if those are open, those are time for rest for me, because usually Fridays I'm pretty tired. And if it doesn't happen Friday, then I'm usually forced to rest on Saturday, if I'm being completely honest, because then by the time I get to Saturday, I'm pretty darn exhausted and not much happens. And so Saturdays will be a rest day for me too. And usually then Sundays, which I know a lot of people rest on Sundays, and if that's your jam, that's cool. You should do that. Sundays actually for me are a very motivating day. I like to actually do things on Sundays. I like to prepare for my week ahead on Sundays. So usually my rest is going to be Friday evenings, and then some part of the days on Saturdays as well. So those are my days and times that I rest. You don't have to mimic mine. I want you to pick some time during the upcoming week that you will plan to rest, and that you will be okay with the discomfort that comes with resting, especially initially when you're building new practices, you're building new thoughts, and you're building new beliefs, that you'll be okay with that discomfort and you'll allow it to be there. And then during that discomfort, you will talk to yourself in an unconditional, loved way. So that you will talk to yourself in a way that your child self needs to hear. You'll talk to yourself on the mother in your life that you would like her to say to you. This has nothing to do with your current mother-daughter relationship. This has everything to do with your relationship with yourself. So speak to yourself as if you were your daughter, and your daughter that you love unconditionally, who absolutely needs rest. What would you say to her? And then I want you to reflect afterwards. How did it feel? And to be completely honest, it might feel amazing and you might feel very accomplished by that rest, and you might feel unnerved, and you might feel like that was wasteful, and all that stuff might come up. And just know if that comes up, that's okay. You just need more practice. You're going to get there where you're going to love to rest. You're going to get there where rest does not feel wasteful and it actually feels productive, and you are able to give your body exactly what it needs in those times of rest. You will get there, I promise. But it doesn't come without practice. It doesn't come without changing how you're thinking about rest and how you're actually becoming a restored person and a restored woman in a body that feels like hers. All right, my friends, that's what I have for today. I would love to hear what you think about this episode. So make sure to head to Instagram at Melissa_Eich and let me know what you thought about today's episode. And if you haven't reviewed the podcast, I would love it if you could review the podcast this week. This just helps me be able to get this podcast out to other women who, just like you, want to hear these episodes and want to feel at home in their own bodies as well. All right, my friends, I will see you next week.